needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people because everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a great fighter and they want to see him compete.
Dana White has completely dismantled the idea of a Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul boxing match. And honestly, it's hard to disagree with him. Let's face it, Jake Paul was never in it for the grit, grind, or glory of true boxing. From the start, his strategy was crystal clear: chase fame and stack cash. But let's be real. Not by delivering jaw-dropping knockouts, but by turning viral moments into pure YouTube gold.
And that thing that you came out with today, nobody on earth thinks that you really wrote that. You're too stupid. And for those of you that don't know, if you've ever watched one of his fights and you see when they do the stare down, the guy that's
Mike Tyson's wild promo videos and those intense face-off clips weren't just extras, they were the main event. Tyson knows exactly how to leverage the hype train and steer it straight to the bank. And let's be honest, the saying holds true: once a YouTuber, always a YouTuber. Dana White didn't stop at calling Jake Paul a fame chaser, though. He aired out so many alleged shady dealings that it started to feel like a courtroom drama. By the end of it, even I found myself tallying up more reasons to be skeptical of Jake Paul than I ever thought possible.
And for those of you that don't know, if you've ever watched one of his fights and you see when they do the stare down, the guy that's standing in the middle with the warlock nose and the big warlock wart on his face, apparently that's his manager. And that guy used to be an accountant for me. And let's just say this, he no longer works for me, and I think he's a scumbag.
In classic Dana White fashion, blunt, no nonsense, and unapologetic, he's absolutely torching Jake Paul, labeling him as one of the biggest frauds to ever set foot in combat sports. But Dana isn't just hurling insults for the sake of it. He's taking direct shots, accusing Jake of juicing on steroids and reducing his entire boxing career to nothing more than a series of gimmicky matchups designed to entertain, not prove skill.
I didn't even know the guy was fighting. When Jake Paul lost to Fury, I haven't really paid attention to Jake Paul.
I have love for Jake too. I don't.
Before anyone dismisses Dana White's words, let's not forget, this is the man who transformed the UFC from a scrappy backyard spectacle into a global, multi-billion-dollar empire. His expertise in the fight game is undeniable. When Dana speaks, even the harshest skeptics have no choice but to stop and listen. Love him or hate him, the man knows exactly what he's talking about.
You think that you can do it better than we do. We're doing this whole thing wrong. You could treat the fighters better than we do. Knock yourself out. Go start your own business. It's easy to do. Go get the Warlock on it. The Warlock can get it started for you. What you and the Warlock should be focused on is your business.
Dana's outrage isn't just some petty feud with Jake Paul. It's deeper than that. It's a "you've disgraced the entire sport I built" level of fury. To him, Jake isn't just chasing clout, he's manipulating boxing, reducing it to a shallow spectacle designed for clicks and cash grabs. And if that wasn't enough, Dana takes aim at Jake's manager with cutting sarcasm, referring to him as the Warlock. Apparently, this so-called Warlock used to be an accountant for the UFC, but couldn't cut it. Now, as Dana puts it, he's been demoted to Jake Paul's errand boy. Dana paints him as a walking cautionary tale, a former number cruncher desperately clinging to relevance by running around in Jake's social media circus. It's a roast drenched in mockery, and Dana doesn't hold back in emphasizing just how far this Warlock has fallen from any shred of respectability.
He fights older people that are smaller. It's all the same.
And if you think Dana's trash talk stops there, think again. He cranks it up in a way only a seasoned fight promoter could. Dana throws down a challenge that cuts deeper than any insult: a steroid testing showdown. He's not buying the idea that Jake Paul's impressive biceps are the result of nothing but hard work and protein shakes. Dana demands random drug tests for Jake, putting the spotlight on what he suggests might be some chemically enhanced gains. But Dana doesn't stop at calling Jake out. he ups the stakes with a bold offer. To prove he's clean himself, Dana proposes a wild deal. He'll submit to random cocaine testing for 10 whole years. That's right, an entire decade of drug testing, just to back up his own claims. It's the ultimate mic drop move, blending bravado, sarcasm, and a challenge Jake might not be eager to accept.
I'm ready to roll, buddy. I don't use cocaine. Do you use steroids? Let's do this, Jake.
This whole steroid versus cocaine drama has turned into a spectacle bigger than some actual fights. It's a media frenzy with headlines splashing across every outlet and social media users losing their collective minds. Suddenly, the Tyson versus Jake Paul matchup isn't just about who's getting knocked out in the ring. It's now a full-blown controversy, with accusations flying and egos clashing like heavyweights. Dana's challenge isn't just spicy trash talk. It's a battle cry demanding Jake Paul prove he's not all smoke and mirrors. The fight hype has evolved from simple punch predictions to wild steroid accusations, and it's making this showdown far more explosive than anyone could have expected.
Jake, you never responded to the challenge. You publicly stated that I use cocaine. I do not. So I told you you could randomly cocaine test me for the next 10 years. I believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you use steroids. So I want to randomly steroid test.
Jake Paul has never been one to shy away from a heated debate, especially when it means stirring up drama. And now he's leaning in hard on this fighter pay crusade, positioning himself as the noble warrior standing up for underpaid MMA athletes. The guy who built his name pulling pranks and creating chaos on YouTube is now acting like the Robin Hood of the fight world. He loves to throw out numbers that catch your eye. $600,000, the average salary for top-tier UFC heavyweights, according to Jake. Then, he hits you with the jaw-dropping comparison. $30 million, the payday for heavyweight boxing champs. According to Jake, this is a massive injustice, and naturally, he casts himself as the only hero brave enough to call it out. But let's not kid ourselves. Dana White isn't buying a word of it. He comes in hot with sarcasm so sharp, it might as well have blades. Dana openly mocks Jake's supposed understanding of fighter pay and the business behind it, and honestly, it's almost comical.
Do you think he's not paying fighters fairly?
It's all greed and it's all going to fill Dana White's pockets.
Dana White blasted Jake Paul for accusing him of using cocaine, so White had
I mean, really? Dana White, the mastermind who turned the UFC into a global powerhouse, listening to a YouTuber lecture him about finances? Yeah, not happening. Dana lays it out for Jake, telling him that if he truly thinks he's so clever, he should stop whining and go start his own MMA organization. And just to drive the point home, Dana throws down a sarcastic challenge, suggesting it's easy to do. With that signature eye-roll tone that screams the complete opposite, it's as if Dana's daring Jake to put his millions where his mouth is and experience firsthand just how brutal running a fight promotion can be.
He didn't even know half the guys' fucking names on the card. And the list goes on and on with that guy.
Khabib, he retired. Do you think there's ever a chance that Khabib would come back and fight? Is there a number that you can say, Khabib, we got 20 million, we got 25 million?
I threw the numbers at him, trust me.
This isn't just playground banter, it's a collision of two vastly different worlds. On one side, you have Dana White, the mastermind who built the UFC into the gold standard of mixed martial arts, working with legends like Khabib Nurmagomedov, who left the sport undefeated and untouchable. On the other side, you've got Jake Paul, whose entire combat sports career revolves around a series of viral marketing stunts against retired, often smaller MMA stars. Jake wants to paint Dana as the greedy tycoon, raking in cash off the backs of underpaid athletes. But Dana sees right through the act. He's calling Jake out as a self-serving fraud, someone who only pretends to care about fighter welfare when it suits his brand.
He's making money. If you can...
You making real money, Dana, or are you making...
I don't know. That I don't know. I don't know what he's really making.
Let's talk about Jake's so-called crusade for fighter pay. It gets even funnier when you look at his own fight lineup. He's made millions boxing against guys like Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren, fighters who are either retired, past their prime, and much smaller than Jake himself. Yet, Jake keeps bragging about his earnings as if that somehow makes him a champion of justice. Dana finds it downright laughable, and honestly, it does come off as a bit hypocritical. If Jake really wanted to make a difference in fighter pay, he'd probably be doing more than just talking. Actions speak louder than words, after all.
Also considered a boxer, and he lost. So if you can keep fighting fucking 50-something-year-olds...
You don't think Tyson has a chance?
And making a living at it. I think that Mike Tyson has a puncher's chance against any...
Now with the added spectacle of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, things get even messier. Mike Tyson is a living legend, no doubt, but he's also pushing 60. The man who once could knock a guy senseless in seconds isn't the unstoppable force he once was. Yet, here he is, about to face off against Jake, who's 3 decades younger. The age gap is almost insulting. Critics like Bernard Hopkins aren't holding back either. Hopkins, who knows a thing or two about longevity in boxing, says Jake and Tyson shouldn't even be in the same conversation. It's a mismatch that even the most seasoned fighters can't help but call out.
Guys that box for a living and guys that are your age. How about that?
He says he wants to fight Canelo. I'm just saying what he... That's what he...
hear you. Then why is he not fighting Canelo?
Canelo, I don't think Canelo wants to waste his time.
Yeah.
But let's be real. No matter how much people criticize, they can't resist the spectacle. It's like watching a train wreck. You just can't look away. The thought of a 58-year-old Mike Tyson landing one of his legendary punches on Jake Paul's face, that's the stuff viral dreams are made of. Former UFC fighter Brendan Schaub breaks down the possibilities. If Jake knocks Tyson out, everyone's going to call him a bully for beating up an old man. But if Tyson knocks Jake out, it's game over for Jake's boxing credibility. The worst case scenario? A dull decision win that leaves everyone, Netflix included, wishing they'd invested their money elsewhere. Jake's preparation has been making waves too. He's packed on muscle, moved up to heavyweight, and is trying to look like a serious contender. But critics, led by Dana White, aren't impressed. Dana believes Jake's whole game is rigged, always fighting retired or undersized opponents. Even with all his games and Instagram-wealthy workouts, people are left wondering, can Jake actually handle Tyson, even an older version? Or is this just another chapter in Jake's endless campaign to stay relevant and keep the cash flowing? Ultimately, this isn't just a fight. It's a battle for what it truly means to earn respect in the sport. Jake Paul may be trying to play the role of a crusader for fighters' rights, but his actions paint a very different picture. Dana White isn't letting that slide. He's pointing out every contradiction and exposing Jake as a guy who cares more about his brand than the sport he claims to defend. This saga isn't just a clash of fists, it's a war of words, egos, and reputations.